I normally don't do this, but I'm going to say it now. I believe Packers edge rusher Micah Parsons is going to win Defensive Player of the Year. He has been that phenomenal through 2 games as a Green Bay Packer. I think he is incredibly motivated, and we know he's a supreme pass rushing talent. He won easily against rookie Josh Connerly, there against Laramie Tunsil, wins to the inside, then counters back, still gets a hit on Jaden Daniels. It didn't matter if Washington lined up a tight end on the outside of Micah Parsons, he could still win to the outside shoulder. And another reason why I think this will continue, Parsons can play a lot at left defensive end because of the presence of Rashawn Gary. And Parsons' inside move has become as famous and as efficient as Dwight Freeney's spin move back in the day with the Colts. That is just a ridiculous rep right there for a sack on one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the NFL. He can win through doubles. He is super strong at the point of attack, always hustles. And through 2 games, on just 73 pass rushing snaps, Parsons has 10 quarterback pressures and 1.5 sacks. The spotlight has been on him to start his Green Bay career after that monster trade, and he has delivered through 2 games. So yes, this is the time where I'm being that guy. Parsons is going to win Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know if I've ever seen this in an NFL game. Pay attention to the Packers cornerback up top. That's Keyshawn Nixon. The first pass thrown in his target area was to Noah Brown. That was a pass breakup. Great physicality from both players. Awesome play to jar the ball loose by Nixon near the sideline. Again, Nixon lined up against Noah Brown. Comeback route, plants, drives, makes a play on the football with his right hand. No pass interference. And then here, against the speedy rookie Jalen Lane, who I do think needs to be involved more in the Commanders' offense, stems to the outside, slant, pass breakup. The third of the night from Keyshawn Nixon. And then late in the game, off the back pedal, against a slant run by Jalen Lane, another pass breakup from Keyshawn Nixon. Now, Nixon, up until this point, is most known for his 2 first-team All-Pro distinctions as a kick returner. But he's really come into his own in Green Bay the last 4 seasons. He was solid last year for Green Bay with 7 pass breakups and 1 interception. And this was a pretty rare A-plus performance. 4 targets, 4 pass breakups for Nixon in Green Bay's week 2. Tucker Kraft breakout is here. We are going to realize he is an elite level tight end by the end of the 2025 season. He just plays with so much athleticism and tenacity and is a plus yards after the catch tight end. Look at there on his first catch of the game how he just refuses to go down. And sure, this was a blown coverage and an awesome play design from Matt LaFleur. But watch how he looks when he's running the football. Tucker Kraft does not look like a tight end there rumbling down the field. And here's probably a better illustration of his brilliance after the catch. Quick block of Von Miller on the outside. Releases into the flat. That's just going to be a 2-yard gain, right? Nope. Tosses aside that defensive back and finishes with authority. I had a gigantic draft crush on Kraft just a few years ago and thought the Packers should have picked him in the 2nd round ahead of Luke Musgrave. And Kraft has emerged as the true number 1 tight end in what is probably going to be one of the most efficient offenses in football this season. I love here how he fights through physicality, draws the flag, falls to the turf, and then works back to the football near the sideline. Kraft is big, he's athletic, he's physical, a decent separator, excels after the catch, and has very sure hands. Tucker Kraft is finally freed. This Cardinals edge rusher does not get the love he deserves. That's Arizona's edge, Baron Browning, and he has been spectacular through 2 weeks in Arizona's 2-0 start. The former Denver Bronco, who played off-ball linebacker in college and early in his NFL career, has 10 quarterback pressures through 2 games. And these are high-caliber wins of many different varieties against Carolina in week 2. Pass rush moves, inside moves, speed-to-power conversion. And how about that spin on Ike Ekwonu? And Browning is not exactly an edge that you want to leave unblocked for an unabated hit on your quarterback. This is the type of athlete he is, and check those percentiles among edge rushers. Almost 6'3", 245 pounds, crazy explosiveness, and ridiculous bend. And the Cardinals traded for Browning in November of 2024 for only a 6th round pick. And next to big-time free agent signing Josh Sweat, Browning has been awesome as a hybrid stand-up rusher who can really affect the quarterback. Keep an eye on number 5 in Arizona. I was wrong, and I'll be the first to admit it. When the Packers traded for Micah Parsons, I posted a video that Rashawn Gary would be the biggest beneficiary. He hasn't been. The biggest beneficiary has been former first-round defensive tackle Devontae Wyatt. And look at this move he put on Brandon Coleman, who's a pretty athletic left guard. Wyatt has been largely unblockable, and he certainly was unblockable in Green Bay's Week 2 win over the Commanders on Thursday Night Football. And as you're noticing here, he is seeing a ton of one-on-one reps against Brandon Coleman and the rest of the interior of Washington's offensive line. You're seeing very minimal help from the center, or certainly not any from either tackle. And Wyatt was a big-time prospect out of Georgia. Won a national title there, was a quality athlete at the combine, and plays with a lot of power too, as you can see on that rush. Now yes, Rashawn Gary has been a beneficiary too, and Parsons just himself has been excellent. But after trading Kenny Clark in the Parsons trade, Green Bay needed their interior rushers to step up, and Wyatt absolutely has done that through 2 games. In fact, he leads all defensive tackles with 11 quarterback pressures entering week 3. Hats off to Devontae Wyatt and his incredible start to 2025. This was the best throw I saw in week 2, and it came courtesy of Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. Cowboys want everyone flowing to the right off play action before Dak looks back to his left. And this is what he gets inside the pocket. A blitzing cornerback, Abdul Carter winning to his left, and number 91 ultimately gets a hit on him too. Dak is looking for this deep over to CeeDee Lamb. And the Giants know it's coming. There ultimately are 2 defensive backs over the top and that linebacker underneath. And watch right there, that subtle step up by Dak buys him just enough time and space to even get this throw off, with 3 Giants defenders converging on him and 2 hitting him. Without ample space to step into that throw, take a look at the placement. Ridiculous. And this is a laser 30 yards downfield. I don't think CeeDee Lamb had to break stride whatsoever. Perfect accuracy and trajectory. Now let's watch it at full speed. There is so much nuanced quarterbacking that went into this play, which is why I think Dak Prescott made the best throw in the NFL in week 2. This was the best run I saw in week 2, and it came courtesy of Falcons running back Bijan Robinson. First, I'll run it at full speed, and it seems pretty ridiculous when you're seeing it as fast as it ultimately happened. But let's break it down. First things first, I think this was supposed to be a direct snap. I'm not positive. It didn't really seem like Robinson was ready for it, so he bobbles the snap. He's able to squeeze to his right past 2 blitzing linebackers. And I will say, at this point, after he secured the football and got through the line of scrimmage, there was a lot of green grass and not many Vikings defenders in his vicinity. But here is where the play goes off the rails. As Robinson is getting his footing, he's at the second level, dead leg right there. There goes Dallas Turner on skates. Jonathan Grenard, no chance either. But that's not all. Look at Byron Murphy, really good corner. He has Robinson sized up. And at this stage, Robinson is going directly across the field, but nope, another dead leg, and look at Murphy just whiff. Hits nothing but air. Pretty ridiculous display of athleticism from Bijan Robinson on what I thought was the best run in week 2. Matt Milano is hurt again for the Bills, but Dorian Williams is ready to step in his place and thrive again. Remember, Dorian Williams was Buffalo's leading tackler last season when Milano was out for an extended period of time. And he is really coming into his own in his 3rd season in Buffalo's defense. He plays with more authority than anyone on this Bills defense, seriously. He will lay the lumber, there's very minimal hesitation to his game. Ask Breece Hall about that. And I think that he's finally understanding the nuances of playing in coverage. Williams was a 3rd-round pick out of Tulane just a few years ago, who ran 4.49 as a prospect. He's getting much more comfortable in space. He plays the football well at the catch point for a linebacker. And he has top-end range, whether that be flying to the football on an outside run or covering a swing pass like that one to Braylon Allen in week 2. In his prime, Matt Milano was one of the best linebackers in football. He earned an All-Pro distinction in 2022. Dorian Williams is not there yet, but an injured Milano is not nearly as devastating now to the Bills as it was a few years ago. Playing next to the heady Terrell Bernard, I think Dorian Williams can again be a tackling machine for the Bills defense with Matt Milano injured. I'm really excited about these 2 Falcons rookie defensive backs. They are Billy Bowman and Xavier Watts, and they have been magnets to the football through 2 games for Atlanta. After following Jalen Naylor in motion, Bowman ran the route for him and then made a ridiculous play on the football for that interception. And check Bowman's recognition in zone here to close on this quick stick route by TJ Hawkinson before making another interception in Atlanta's impressive win in Minnesota. But I even liked Xavier Watts more as a prospect coming out of Notre Dame. He has elite level instincts and range, even though he didn't test particularly well before the draft. That was his first interception against the Vikings, and he almost had 2 others in week 1 against the Buccaneers. He is a former wide receiver turned safety, and he plays like it. Watch how quickly he recognizes this route on the other side of the field, runs underneath it, and that should have been his first interception in his first NFL game. Bowman can miss some tackles, but he's a feisty slot defender, and Watts can be awesome next to Jesse Bates. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert has now had 2 outstanding games to start this season. The arm talent displays have been ridiculous, as usual. And I think Herbert has become a better decision maker during his second season in the Greg Roman offense. That first throw was just a little flick to Ladd McConkey for nearly 20 yards, and that is not an easy throw to the back corner of the end zone to Keenan Allen for a score. And how about this laser beam to 50 yards in the air to Quentin Johnston for a second touchdown of the evening? There are not many quarterbacks making that toss look as effortless as Herbert did there. Here's another rocket to rookie Trey Harris. It arrives right before the safety gets there near the sideline. And Jim Harbaugh must have loved this one. Although it's not I formation, there is a fullback on the field. It is under center. Play action. Herbert first looks at the deep over, comes back to the middle, and fires a strike to Keenan Allen. And then late in the game, with an 11-point lead deep in his own end, Herbert didn't try to force anything. He takes the check down here, and that is the next stage of his development. Not that he's never been able to do it, but situational football is vital. 2 weeks in, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Herbert's been awesome. Running back Jonathan Taylor is still a freak of nature, and let me tell you why. Through 2 weeks of NFL action, on this play, Taylor was clocked running faster than any other ball carrier in the NFL at 22.38 miles per hour. 22.38 miles per hour for a running back. And on this weaving 68-yard run against the Broncos, Taylor was clocked at the 11th fastest speed among all ball carriers at 20.74 miles per hour. Taylor is about 1,300 carries into his NFL career, and this is the size of this specimen. 5'10", 226, and he's proven to be one of the fastest players in the entire NFL. Oh, and by the way, Taylor leads the NFL with 236 rushing yards entering week 3. So he has the fastest clock speed of any ball carrier and more rushing yards than anyone else through 2 games. Yes, a lot of the focus has been on Indiana Jones, and rightfully so. I did a video on it. But let's not forget that Jonathan Taylor is truly an elite talent at running back. What was up with Geno Smith's accuracy in the loss to the Chargers in week 2? I'm not really sure, because this is normally one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the NFL, and we got some foreshadowing on the first play of the game. That was a misread of coverage, but the ball was too far inside as well. Wasn't really able to step into that swing pass, but again, normally Geno Smith puts that on his target. He was late on a few throws too, which is pretty uncharacteristic. Like that was an open Jacoby Myers, the throw was just late. And Smith has completed this pass hundreds of times in his career and did so frequently during his resurgence in Seattle. And this one I'm not going to completely fault him for, because this is not Geno Smith's game. Although I do think Dante Thornton had a step, the ball is just woefully underthrown. But we all know Smith is best when he's distributing the football from inside the pocket. But in this game, he was either late or just not accurate. That was another tardy throw, that time to Trey Tucker. The back shoulder game was pretty much non-existent against the Chargers, although that could come with time. And here, late in the game, Geno missed this touchdown to Brock Bowers. It's got to be a better throw. Now, I'm not going to say that I think Geno Smith is absolutely cooked, but at home, in primetime, he needed to be a lot better. He's got to return to his accurate roots. Cowboys running back Javonte Williams looks like he's back to his former self. Now, he hasn't been sensational through 2 games in Dallas, but I think he's ramping up to play like he did pre-injury in Denver. And you got to remember, he was one of the most fun young running backs in the NFL before that gruesome knee injury just a few years ago. And as a prospect, he was tremendous, running with so much power, elite contact balance at North Carolina. And you're seeing him do that here in this crazy week 2 win over the Giants. But there's also a plus cutting skill to his game. Like, he shows here that he can find holes on the backside, and he can even hurdle defenders well down the field. This was not a splashy signing by Dallas this offseason. But if they presume Javonte Williams to be pretty close to 100%, they absolutely got a deal at the running back position. There were a litany of runs against New York, and what should be a pretty formidable defensive front, in which Williams bounced off defenders and got a lot more yardage than what was blocked for him. This run late in the game was huge. So hats off to Javonte Williams and his start to the 2025 season. Cornerback Derek Stingley did as good of a job on Mike Evans as you will see. Yes, Houston lost, but it was not because of poor play from their star cornerback. That pass breakup came in the first half. Awareness, burst, and length were on display there. Here he shows he's not afraid to get physical with Evans because he knows that Evans is going to be physical with him, and breaks up another pass. Now, you know Mike Evans is going to get his. But it took a perfect throw from Baker Mayfield to squeeze that football in there to Evans near the sideline. And really, he allowed that catch, one other, and then this little short one near the sideline, not allowing Mike Evans to get upfield to get near that first down. But then later in this game, Mayfield continued to try to just throw it up to Mike Evans, but Stingley was not having it. The coverage was sticky. He was not pushed off his spot by Evans' physicality. And when he was in zone, he played the football at the catch point as good as you can play it against future Hall of Famer Mike Evans, 6'4", 230 plus pounds. There was simply just nowhere to throw the football on the majority of Evans' targets when facing Stingley. Even in the loss, the Texans should be thrilled with the performance that Stingley put on against them. The Chargers have a star at linebacker. Diane Henley was all over the field in Los Angeles' Week 2 win over the Raiders. He had 10 tackles in this game and played with insane range and speed to the football even when flying downhill. This was a huge tackle for loss on a 3rd and short. And sure, he was unblocked, but Henley demonstrated that speed on that play. And you want to see why range is important? He actually steps to the inside, but still is able to close on Genti there to make that tackle before it's an explosive play. And you are not going to see a linebacker in a spy situation close faster than this. Instead of continuing to wait, he just decided to attack and got the sack of Geno Smith. Henley was a day 2 pick out of Washington State 2 years ago. And yeah, he's a big-time explosive athlete at just about the perfect size to play the position today. And it would not be a linebacker video without mentioning coverage. And how about an interception on the first play of the game? Now, of course, it was tipped, it was gift wrapped right to Henley, but he does have great spatial awareness and can make plays in coverage. Henley broke out last season after being injured as a rookie, and he's ready to be a leader of this Chargers team. I cannot overstate how vital Bucky Irving is to the Buccaneers. Not only did he grind out a pretty difficult 71 yards on the ground at 4.2 yards per carry, but he was vital in the pass game with 6 catches for 50 yards. Now, these are his catches on that ultimately game-winning drive. There, he catches just an easy dump down, makes a defender miss, and then pushes through to pick up that first down. And this was the biggest play on that game-winning drive. Now, let's count how many defenders he makes miss. 1, 2, 3, ultimately 4 Houston defenders it takes to bring him to the turf. Let's count them again and go in slow motion. And this play started with just 52 seconds left, and they are nowhere close to scoring a touchdown. There's one, cuts to the inside, bounces off that tackler, linebacker Henry 2020, and one more before being dragged down close to the 20-yard line. Now, I was a little nervous for Irving here that I thought he was maybe going to waste time trying to stay in bounds, but he didn't. Irving is so damn good, and he's becoming the epitome of a modern day. Let's get to the bottom of what's going on with Caleb Williams. Is it him, his receivers, or the scheme? I'm highlighting plays that he either scrambled on or was sacked on against the Lions. This was just perfectly covered. Kirby Joseph is over top of that deep over, and everyone underneath is covered. So I can't really blame Williams for scrambling on that play. And this one you have to chalk up to the offensive line. He had Roma Dunze probably coming open on a deep out route, but look, as he was about to throw the football, he was already being taken to the turf. In watching the film of Williams, I will say there were too many plays in which he simply did not throw the football when there were players open, like you see here. This was on a 3rd and 14, and he almost scrambled for the first down, but he has to make a quicker decision there to get the ball out of his hands. Similar concept here. See an open receiver, throw to an open receiver. He held on to it a little bit too long and took another sack. And weirdly, he had already come off that initial read even though it was open. And this play demonstrates what I've long called young quarterback shell shock. He feels Brian Branch from the blind side, and he's thinking about him before actually throwing the football. If he steps up and to his left, he had Olamide Zaccheaus coming wide open on a slant. And young quarterback shell shock comes when you simply don't trust your offensive line. However, I do like the pocket awareness from Williams on that play. So through 2 games, I put a fair amount of the blame on Williams himself, some on his offensive line, but not much on Ben Johnson. He needs to trust the structure of the scheme and throw when receivers are open. Who is to blame for Joe Burrow's serious toe injury? Is it the Bengals offensive line or Burrow himself? And I think my answer is going to surprise you. This was the sack that injured Burrow. Super unfortunate injury for Burrow himself, Cincinnati, all involved parties, absolutely. And I don't want to see any quarterback get hurt. But I think we operate under a little bit of a double standard when it comes to quarterback responsibility relative to sacks. We've moved into an era where we understand that quarterback sacks are not strictly on the offensive line. But when a good quarterback is sacked a lot, the first fingers get pointed at the offensive front. However, if it's a bad quarterback sacked a lot, he shoulders a lot of the blame. And I want you to check this recent tweet I sent out. These are the pressure to sack rates among what I'm calling the big four quarterbacks the past 4 seasons. So starting in 24 and going backwards to 2021. What stands out to you? Look at Burrow relative to his counterparts. He clearly takes sacks after being pressured at a much higher rate than Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson, thereby increasing his injury risk. So I do think all of the injuries are much more on Burrow than what's being let on. Now, some of these hits and sacks are happening in a hurry. And playing in a division with Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, and the Ravens defense have certainly not helped things. And I'm not saying that the Bengals offensive line is free of blame, and their GM Duke Tobin probably could have done a better job placing quality blocking talent around Burrow. But Burrow's status as an elite passer should not absolve him for a fair amount of blame for these injuries. Let's check in on my number 2 running back from the 2025 draft, Jaguars rookie Bashal Tutin. He has been highly effective through 2 games in Jacksonville. He's bouncy, he has a low center of gravity with surprising contact balance, and he's useful out of the backfield too. This is a well-designed screenplay, and then Tutin breaks a tackle, accelerates, and isn't afraid to take a shot after leapfrogging that Bengals defender. On film at Virginia Tech, I loved Tutin's lateral agility, and you saw his cutting skill on that play, hitting that cutback lane in a hurry. He was one of the most elusive running backs in college football last season. And even though he's not a ridiculous athlete, he's certainly not someone you want to see in space. He made that touchdown look way too easy. Travis Etienne has still proven to have some value in Jacksonville's offense. But I really think the sooner the Jaguars realize that Tutin can make the most out of what's blocked for him, the better this offense will be. And here's a perfect example of his contact balance. That should have been probably a 2-yard loss. It ended as a 6-yard gain. From North Carolina A&T to Virginia Tech to truly one of my biggest draft crushes in the 2025 draft, Bashal Tutin is going to be a star in the NFL. We need to talk about that guy. He is Cardinals' new edge rusher and former first-round linebacker Zaven Collins. And he was outstanding in Arizona's Week 2 win over the Carolina Panthers. He was a hybrid player at Tulsa, but began his career as an off-ball linebacker. At like 6'4" and 230 pounds, he is a freaky specimen of an athlete. And I think it's good that Jonathan Gannon is utilizing him on the edge. While he doesn't have an advanced repertoire of pass rush moves, Collins' athleticism and awareness for the football make him a very useful player on the edge to chase down all these mobile quarterbacks in today's NFL. And he made life hell for Bryce Young in this game, registering 7 quarterback pressures on just 25 pass rush snaps. And no, not all of these are clean wins, but being able to retrace to the quarterback or simply just find him in the pocket is a key trait for the modern day edge rusher. And because he started his career as a linebacker, he can make plays against the run too. The Cardinals are quietly 2-0 and keep a close eye on Collins in his new position this Patriots season. Defensive tackle Milton Williams has been worth every penny he signed for through 2 games. He was unblockable against the Miami Dolphins in New England's Week 2 win in Miami, and he has 9 pressures on just 57 pass rush snaps entering Week 3. That equates to a 15.8% pressure rate, and anything over 10% is really good for a defensive tackle. Yes, small sample size, I know. Williams is a big-time athlete, but as you're seeing here, he has added legitimate power to his arsenal. We saw that all through the playoff Super Bowl run last season. But then he's got wiggle like this, where he can win on either shoulder of the guard or center. And on this sack of Tua Tagovailoa, Williams even demonstrated a little bit of bend. Very impressive for a man his size. He's around 290 pounds. He also helps out in the run game. He's not just a pass rushing specialist. He bench presses the blocker here, gets off it, and then makes his tackle on Devon Achane before he can really create a big play for the Dolphins offense. Milton Williams nearly signed with the Carolina Panthers, but now he's in New England. And his blend of quickness, tenacity, power, and pass rush moves have led to major production through 2 weeks. Seahawks running back Ken Walker does not get the credit he deserves. I really think he is one of the truly elite talents at the running back position in today's NFL. We just didn't see great production from him last season because Seattle's offensive line was one of the worst in the NFL. But in Week 2, in the Seahawks win over the Steelers, I mean, you're seeing it. You are seeing elite level rushing skill. He's big, he's fast, and he's very elusive with side-to-side wiggle for days. But he doesn't always try to dance. Like here, he just hits one cut and then finishes with authority. Walker is a stocky 5'10" and around 215 pounds. Can make cuts like that one. And he will deploy multiple cuts on a given run to find an open lane, like he did on that run against the Steelers. Last year, Walker only averaged 3.7 yards per carry, but he set a career high with 59 missed tackles forced. He's absolutely one of the most elusive running backs in football. Like, how silly of a run is this? He got a lot more than what was blocked for him on this play. Cuts left, then back to the right, to turn that into another positive gain. And even when the front side lanes are clogged like it was here, he will find cutbacks. And because of how quickly he can cut, you will often see defenders flowing past Walker. The Steelers might have a defensive problem, but in this game, Walker reminded everyone he's a special talent. I have been so impressed with 32-year-old Davante Adams through 2 weeks with the Rams. He's still running super crisp routes like that one, and he's even demonstrated a little bit of yards after the catch, which we really haven't seen from Adams since his prime. Look at him really open up, getting downfield, sells the vertical before slamming on the brakes, and then again, generating extra yardage after he catches the football from Matthew Stafford. And we all know Davante Adams has ridiculous hands. Awesome catch here on a low throw across the middle, perfectly placed by Stafford against L'Jarius Sneed. And that was a theme in this game. And here, Adams demonstrated that he can still work through physicality before making a catch near the sideline. And I really don't think that Adams is too intimidated by press coverage. He got bumped there, but it's zone coverage, makes the catch to just keep a positive gain for the Rams offense. And watch this double move against L'Jarius Sneed. This is not some rookie or practice squad player. Sells like he's coming back, accelerates, ball is on him, and he makes a great grab near the back of the end zone. Puka's the number one in LA, but Davante's been damn good. Neighbors is special, and I think he has a running mate in this Giants receiving corps. First, let's see all of these big catches from Malik Neighbors in that ridiculous loss in Dallas to the Cowboys. The separation that he can create on routes of all levels is just remarkable, and he tracks it as well as any receiver in football. Outstanding catch there. The first of two insane touchdown grabs deep down the field from Neighbors. And because he's so explosive and has elite top-end speed, that comeback is as automatic as any route for any receiver in football. And this is with under a minute to go. The Cowboys are in cover 4 trying to prevent anything from going over the top. Neighbors and Russell Wilson do not care. Awesome throw, ridiculous catch in traffic from Neighbors. And this is the route I was talking about earlier. The deep comeback from Neighbors is going to be absolutely automatic for him this season. But about his running mate, how about Wendell Robinson, who's mostly a chain-moving slot receiver, but he has some juice too. He showed that at Kentucky. And even though he's really small, he can come down with difficult receptions at the catch point. And check this out. Neighbors in the slot, Robinson up top, and he just runs to the open void deep in the Cowboys secondary. This was the first game since 2014 that two Giants receivers went over 150 yards. Neighbors and Robinson can be a dynamic duo for the G-men. The Falcons' pass rush may have finally turned the corner. Here's a high-caliber rep, dip and bend around the corner on an outside speed rush for a sack by first-round pick Jalen Walker. But I want you to know that Falcons GM Terry Fontenot has heavily invested in the defensive line since he became the GM. That sack was 2024 second-rounder Rook Orororo. And yes, that is apparently how you pronounce his name. He was a big-time prospect out of Clemson, and Fontenot traded up for him in the 2024 draft. He had a good game against Minnesota in Atlanta's very impressive Week 2 win. After picking an edge rusher, Braylon Trice, in the 3rd round, the man in on that sack, Brandon Dorless, a defensive tackle from Oregon, was selected in round 4. And this all makes sense because Atlanta has been the worst pass rushing team in the NFL for like a decade now. Now, fast forward to the 2025 draft. We all know that Fontenot was aggressive again, trading up for my guy, James Pierce, after selecting Jalen Walker early in round 1. And Pierce led the Falcons with 3 quarterback pressures in this win in Minnesota. No Christian Darrisaw was likely a big factor, but this was clearly a step in the right direction for the Falcons pass rush. It is officially a thing now. Daniel Jones' new nickname, Indiana Jones, and he's been great through 2 weeks. This was his first completion of the day, stepping to his left, taking a shot, and delivering a strike to Josh Downs down the field. I can't say I thought Daniel Jones would be this efficient, particularly against Denver's defense that was absolutely elite last year. Awesome play design there. Tyler Warren started in the backfield, leaked down the field, and Daniel Jones hit him in stride. And then, as the pocket was collapsing around him, Jones delivered a perfect bucket throw to Alec Pierce down the sideline. And by the way, Tyler Warren has been awesome through 2 weeks. Love the play design there. He blocks, then he releases. It's a little easy, high percentage throw that created a big game. I'll be the first to say it. That magical 2022 run that the Giants went on was in spite of Daniel Jones. He was not the driver of that team, but he has absolutely been a huge reason why the Colts have started 2-0. That RPO slant was very reminiscent of what Shane Steichen utilized with Jalen Hurts when he was his offensive coordinator early in his Eagles career. And this was the huge third down conversion late in this game. Jones is about to be hit, but he throws it in stride to Pierce for a first down. We all got to hand it to Daniel Jones. He's been great. Bills edge rusher Joey Bosa was on one against the Jets. The veteran pass rusher registered 7 quarterback pressures on just 15 pass rush snaps in New Jersey. And most of those wins were against first-round pick Armand Membu, who absolutely blanked TJ Watt just a week ago. Look at that inside move. That is as good as you're going to see in the NFL. A total whiff by the first rounder. And Bosa demonstrated his veteran savvy here, rushing to the inside, but then tracking back outside to get that hit on Justin Fields. He was very aware of where the quarterback was on that play. Then the Jets decided to try to block Joey Bosa with a tight end. Not a good idea, especially a rookie in Mason Taylor. The Jets tried to chip Joey Bosa. That didn't matter. He was winning through multiple blockers throughout this game, even though he didn't play a ton of snaps. Here's a speed rush to a swim against former first-rounder Olu Fashanu. And reasonably early in this game, this strip sack of Justin Fields opened the floodgates for Buffalo. And the Bills coaching staff will love to see this type of hustle from a veteran. In week 2 against the Jets, Joey Bosa looked like he was back in his prime.